Welcome again to our pre-departure week. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes so everyone who wants to join the session can join, and then we will get started. I see the numbers are going up, so we're just going to wait a little bit longer. Okay, let's get started. Before we start with the session for today, I quickly want to explain what pre-departure weeks are. So these are essentially a series of online sessions and activities to help you feel more prepared before your arrival in Utrecht. So in the coming months, we'll have sessions on a range of different topics, including housing, student life, visa matters, and more. So make sure to keep an eye out for future events that we will be doing as well. Going into what we will be talking about today, today's session will specifically be on the topic of fulfilling your conditions for admission. So we will talk about what this exactly means. Before we start with the content of the session, I quickly want to walk you through what the structure of today's event will look like. So firstly, we will have a short presentation where we talk about the topic of fulfilling your conditions for admission and what this means. During this presentation, you can ask any questions that you have using the Q&A chat function. Our chat moderators will be there to help answer any of the questions that you have. Keep in mind that this session is specifically on fulfilling your conditions for admission. So if you have questions about other topics like housing or student life, you can ask these in the sessions that we will have on those topics in the coming weeks. At the end of the presentation, we will also pick out some of the questions that you have asked in the Q&A and answer these questions live. My colleague from the International Student Admissions team will be there to answer your questions live at the end of the presentation. Okay, so let's get started then with the with today's session. So starting first with your admissions decision. So if your bachelor's or master's application is successful, you will then receive an official letter with the decision. If you applied for a bachelor's program, you will receive this decision through a letter from the International Student Admissions Office. And if you applied for a master's program, you will receive this decision through a letter from the relevant graduate school. Make sure that you read this letter, the accompanying email, and any other attachments. This is really important because the letter, the accompanying email, and any other attachments could have important information for you, and you don't want to miss this. Then moving on into your offer. So your offer could be unconditional or it could be conditional. But what does this really mean? What does unconditional acceptance or conditional acceptance mean? So let's talk about this, starting first with unconditional acceptance. So what unconditional acceptance means depends a bit on the type of program that you are applying to. So if you are applying to a limited enrollment or selective program, this then depends on whether it's a bachelor's or a master's program. So if you apply to a bachelor's program, which is either limited enrollment or a selective program, unconditional acceptance means that you have met all the entry requirements, but you might still need to be selected by the program before you can officially enroll. On the other hand, if you applied for a master's program, which is limited enrollment or selective, this means that you have met all the entry requirements and you have been selected by the program, so you can officially enroll for the program. If you applied for an open enrollment program, whether this is a bachelor's program or a master's program, this means that you have met all the entry requirements and you can officially enroll in the program. So as you can see, throughout being conditionally accepted, it's clear that you have met all the entry requirements for your program. Let's move then to what conditional acceptance means. So conditional acceptance means that you have not yet met all the entry requirements that you need for your chosen program. The exact requirements that you still need to fulfill, as well as the deadline to fulfill them, are stated in your letter of conditional acceptance. This letter of conditional acceptance may contain one or more of the following conditions. Send certified copies of your diploma and transcript, send proof of your English proficiency, complete a course, pass a test, or do a further study. So let's go into the details of these different conditions. So starting first with certified copies. So what are certified copies and why do we need them? So we need certified copies so that we can verify the authenticity of the documents that you are sending. So how do you actually get certified copies? So you go to your high school or your university with your original diploma and transcript. Your high school or university can then make copies of these documents and they certify this with a stamp in original ink. In some cases, it's also possible to make certified digital documents. If you are sending us a certified hard copy, keep in mind that this does actually need to be sent to us by post. In the case that you are making a certified digital document, then this can of course be shared online. Some things that you shouldn't do is don't send us your original diploma and transcript. You only have one of this, so make sure that you keep it safe at home with yourself. Also, if you take photocopies of the original documents, and these do not have any kind of certification, then we cannot accept this either. So it's important that certified copies are made in the right way, and you can find the details of this on our website. So make sure to read all the details so that you can ensure that the certified copies that you are making are actually correct, and you can then fulfill this condition. Moving then to the proof of English proficiency. So if you did not provide the results of your English language test at the time of your application, or in the case that your scores were insufficient, you need to send us your official score report or your certificate with sufficient scores. The deadline that you need to send this by can also be found in your conditional offer. So make sure to check your conditional offer for the deadline as well. Depending on the type of English proficiency test that you take, there might be a slightly different proof that you need to send. So if you take the IELTS test, you need to send us a scan of your official report. If you take the TOEFL IBT, you need to send us the test taker score and request ETS to send your results to Utrecht University. Our code is 9062. If you take the Cambridge C1 and C2, you need to send the scan of your certificate or statement of results, your candidate IDs number, and your secret number. So again, make sure that you check the deadline by which you need to send your proof of English proficiency so you can make sure that you fulfill this condition. And then coming to the final condition, which is completing a course or passing a test. Based on the assessment of your previous education, you may be asked to complete a short course or pass a specific test. If this is the case, the details of what you need to do, as well as the deadline by when you need to complete this, will be provided to you in your letter of conditional acceptance. So these are some of the conditions that you might need to fulfill to go from a conditional acceptance to an unconditional acceptance. Again, your conditional acceptance letter will contain the details of which conditions are relevant to you, the details of this, as well as the deadline by which you need to meet all of these conditions. Now that we've spoken about what conditional acceptance means and discussed some of the different conditions, let's talk a bit about actually accepting your offer. So along with the offer that you receive, you will also be asked to, of course, confirm your place. By accepting, you can essentially reserve your place in the bachelor's or master's program. Keep in mind that you can accept your offer even if you still need to fulfill the conditions of admission. Let's go a bit into the deadlines as well for accepting your offer. So if you are applying for an open enrollment program, our recommendation is that you accept your offer as soon as possible so that you receive all relevant communication from us that can help guide you through the process of enrollment. If you are applying for a limited enrollment or selective program, you will have 2 weeks to accept your place after being selected. If you don't accept the offer within this time, you won't be able to enroll for the program. Again, the offer that you receive contains the deadline by which you need to accept the offer, and it also has the details and instructions on how you can actually accept it. So make sure again to read your offer and any of the accompanying attachments and the content of the email to get all the details that you need. That brings us then to the end of this presentation. We're going to move now to answer some of the questions that you have asked. Okay. Let's check the chat. Again, if you have any questions that you want us to answer, make sure to put it in the chat. Okay, let's start with the first question. How can I confirm that I have fulfilled the conditions for the conditional acceptance? Benjamin, would you like to join us to answer the question?
Hi everyone, I'm Benji. Nice to meet you all. I'm happy to answer any questions that we have.
Okay.
So I was reading one at the minute that was asking if my university only certifies diplomas, and instead for a transcript, Utrecht has to get in touch with my previous university. Unfortunately, we cannot request or arrange these documents on behalf of students. But if you have your transcript, for instance, as a hard copy currently, it might be worth taking it to a third party, such as a public notary, where you can get a certified copy there. And we can accept certified copies that are made by public notaries. Alternatively, you can ask university to send us the documents directly by email. A lot of times universities won't issue transcripts to students directly, but we can, if you email university and you ask them to send us your transcript to admissions.uu.nl, we can accept it that way as well.
Okay, great. Another question we received then about fulfilling the conditions for conditional acceptance. How can a student confirm that they have actually fulfilled the conditions for the conditional admission?
So with this, you will often receive emails from us. If you haven't received an email currently, it just means that we haven't processed your documents. It doesn't mean that we haven't received your hard copies that have been sent. It just means that we haven't processed them yet. As soon as we have processed your documents and you have met the conditions, you will receive an email from us. If it has been long overdue and you have not heard any word and you're maybe worried that your documents have went missing, do feel free to email us. We can then check if we have received your documents, or we can check the status of your conditions. But you will, every time that you meet a condition, you will receive an email saying that this has been completed.
Okay, great. I think that clears up the question for sure. I see another question about when a student can expect to receive information about tuition fees and visa permits.
So Visa will contact you around, I want to say it's either mid-May or June, but they will be the ones to make the first contact with you with all the information that you need in order to start making that visa process. So you don't need to worry about contacting anyone. That will be coming in the next month or so, and you'll receive all the relevant information. If you have any questions about tuition fees, student services are a great help in terms of answering those questions. Usually with your unconditional letter, it will state, you know, how you can arrange these. But if you are wanting to make any, you want to start pre-planning to pay these tuition fees, or you want any advice, contact Student Services as will be your best point of contact for this.
Great. Then I see another question about the certified copies. A student asks, is it possible only to send certified hard copies, or is it also possible to have a sort of digital version of this?
So you have the two options. You can send them by post, but obviously with COVID and sometimes it can cost quite a lot to send it by post, you can do it digitally. On the website as well, it gives the full details, but if your transcript or diploma has a QR code or verification link at the bottom, we can use that to digitally certify it. So if you let us know that your diploma contains this and you send it through to us, we can verify it that way. Alternatively, you can request your university to send us your diploma and transcript digitally directly from their university register email. If we receive it from a university email and we can confirm it's legitimate online, then we can verify it that way. So it's not necessary to send hard copies if you can arrange these digital methods.
Great. Then I see another question about accepting the offer. So should students accept the offer? Do they need to accept the offer they receive if they're not sure whether they actually want to take part in a specific program?
We do encourage that students accept it as soon as they are certain. You can accept it and cancel later on without any financial consequences. So if you accept your offer and a month or two down the line you decide you don't want to anymore, that is no problem to cancel. So I think that's why we encourage students to, reply to their offer as soon as possible. The sooner you reply, the more information you will receive, and you can be a bit more organized.
Great. Could you then talk a bit about sort of what happens after someone is accepted? What are some of the next steps they can kind of expect?
So once you've accepted your offer, you need to start fulfilling. It depends if you have conditional admission or unconditional. Obviously, if you have the conditional admission you accept, you need to then fulfill your conditions. Once you've fulfilled all your conditions, the graduate school will send you your unconditional letter after that, which contains all the information in terms of, enrolling, paying tuition fees, the visa information. I also just want to go back to the visa question earlier. It will start at the start of May, so students can expect any visa information to start coming through to them. If you're granted unconditional admission straight away, as I said, just follow the information that is provided in the letter. And yeah, I think that's pretty. Yep. All the information is usually stated in the letter.
Yeah, I think that that definitely answers the question. I see some more questions in the chat about specific situations, whether someone whether we can confirm that someone's documents have received, etc. Of course, we can't do that during the session, but you will receive an answer to your emails and a confirmation to documents you've sent in due time. Let's see what other questions that we have got in the chat. If you see a question you think is interesting, feel free to read it out as well.
Yeah, so I can see someone here is saying that they won't have their physical certificate by the deadline in September. This is very common, especially with COVID. Students aren't getting their diplomas sent to them on time. You can submit a graduation statement from your university. So this just has to be a written statement that states that you have graduated and your degree is being conferred to you on a certain date. It doesn't need to be the official diploma that's sent to us. So if you can get that stamped and signed by university and sent to us, we can also accept that. So you don't need to worry if you don't obtain your diploma before the deadline.
Yeah, I think that's an important question. So to everyone that might not have their official diploma before the deadline, you know what you can do now.
I see someone else has said that they have sent their original documents. So obviously we encourage students not to, just because we have to keep them for records, but if you have sent your original documents and you end up coming to Utrecht University, you can email us and arrange a collection. So we will make copies of the documents for you and we will be able to give these back, but we do encourage students not to send their original copies if possible, just as we need to store them, and in case there's any risk that they go missing or they get lost. Obviously, we hope that that never happens, but just to avoid that, please make sure you send certified copies and not the original. If you have sent the original, just email us and we can arrange a collection of these documents.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, I see some more questions about, for example, the English language test, and how someone can send the results of the Cambridge test. Yeah, I think the details of this are listed on our website, so you can check there exactly what you need to send and how you can send this to us.
Yeah, you can also send, sometimes it is faster. You can obviously request from IELTS or TOEFL for them to send your results, but if you have the document yourself, feel free to take a scan of the test taker report and send it to us directly at admissions documents. That way sometimes it is a bit faster, just in case the post does take a bit of time to come into us.
Great. I see another question then of a student that says that they can't get their transcript, including the grades for their last semester before the deadline. So again, what can they do?
So unfortunately, transcripts are a necessary document. Obviously, we need, though it depends if you're EU or non-EU, but if you need to apply for a visa, obviously a lot of the time that comes, your deadline is June 15th. And a lot of the time, a lot of students won't have their final transcript by that stage. So you can send us your most recent transcript for the first deadline. And then after that, we can accept your final transcript. I think it is the 1st of September to hopefully allow. We do need this document, however, so you will need to request if it is going to be any later than September. Please do get in contact with us. We will try our very best to see what we can do, but the transcript is a required document.
Okay, great. Then I see another question about the diploma statement. So in the case that someone cannot receive their final diploma and they get a diploma statement from the university, does this have to be the original diploma statement or a copy of that?
So if you have a diploma statement, you can make a certified copy. We don't need the original. Obviously, if you want to hold on to that diploma statement that the university has provided to you, you can make a certified copy of that, but it does need a wet ink stamp on that copy. So it unfortunately can't be a plain scan, but you can make a copy. It doesn't need to be the original graduation statement. If your university also has this digitally, you can ask them to send it to us directly from their university register email. So that's kind of the two ways around that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I see some questions about paying the tuition fee. So can students pay the tuition fee in multiple installments?
Myself, I don't know if any of the other moderators are entirely sure on tuition fees. It's not something I have the answer to just yet. I'm almost certain the student services again are the ones who deal with the tuition fee and paying the tuition fee. So questions, if you have any questions regarding this, please do not hesitate to contact student services. They also have a phone line that you can call them and they can help you there as well.
Mm-hmm. I see an answer in the chat that indeed non-EU students have to pay in full because of the visa procedure, at least for your first year. And for EU students, you can choose to pay the fees in 1 or 5 installments. But yes, again, we will also have a session later on in a couple months where we will also talk about paying your tuition fee. So keep an eye out for that session as well. Okay, let's see what other questions. Okay, I see some questions about, for example, receiving a condition that you do need to complete a specific course. How would a student know by when they need to sort of complete that course?
So it will say on the letter, there should be a date provided, and it should say that you either need to complete this course by this date. Some of the wording can sometimes be that you need to have been enrolled. So a lot of, for instance, master programs have a summer course. So you just need to prove that you're enrolled in that course or you have signed up for it. And then once you complete that course in the summer, whoever is teaching you or taking that course will notify the graduate school that you've completed it. So sometimes in the situations, your unconditional letter can come a bit later, just because you have to finish those summer schools in order to get the unconditional letter. So it just depends on the wording. Just double check your letter and it will say if you've needed to complete the courses, it will be by the date that is stated below it. Or if it says that you need to have enrolled, you just need to sign up for it by the date.
Okay, great. I see another question about what happens if someone sort of accepts an offer and then they are not able to attend the program. What would sort of happen in that situation?
So yeah, it just depends what stage you obviously decide you don't want to do the course anymore. Obviously, if you accept now in a couple of months, if you've not enrolled yet and you've not started the program, it's very easy just to cancel and withdraw your application. So you can change that later on. In terms of starting the program, obviously, if it doesn't work out or it doesn't seem to be what you want it to be, you can withdraw. However, there might be, if you started paying tuition fees, etc., you might need to contact relevant people in student services in order to arrange what comes next at those stages.
Yes, sounds good. I see a lot of questions still about what happens in the case that you do not have your diploma before the deadline stated, and also what happens if you have already sent your actual diploma. So maybe you can answer this one last time.
Yeah, so obviously if you haven't completed your degree or you haven't obtained your final transcript, that is okay. What we need to receive before the June 15th deadline is your proof of anticipated degree. So this is the document used to apply that states that you will graduate at a certain date. So that needs to be stamped and certified and then sent to us. It can either obviously be from the university register email address digitally, or you can send it by post. So as long as we receive your proof of anticipated degree by the first deadline, that is okay. And then we will ask for your actual diploma once you've obtained it later before September. As well, talking about the original document, if you have sent it, obviously email us and ask us. We will make a copy of this original document and you can either arrange to pick it up at student services, or if you're not coming to Utrecht University and you want your documents back, we can obviously arrange to post it back. Yes,
I think that answers the question, and hopefully for everyone asking that you have the answer now. I see another question about if a student has received the condition that they do need to provide the proof of English proficiency, what would happen if they do not actually, if they're not able to fulfill that condition and pass the English language test?
Unfortunately, if you do not meet that requirement or you do not fulfill by the deadline, unfortunately, we cannot offer you the unconditional admission. The graduate schools can be quite strict with this. If you are in doubt, you can contact them directly, but in most cases, if you do not meet this requirement, unfortunately, they cannot offer you the unconditional admission. If you've taken the test and you maybe don't meet the scores the first time, if there is still time, you can resit the test in order to get obviously the required scores, but it is a requirement to get your unconditional admission.
Yep. Great. I see some more questions specifically about visa matters. As I said, we will be having another session where we talk in detail about visa matters. That will happen in the month of May. So keep an eye out for the invitation to that session, so you can join that session for all your questions about visa matters. Okay. I see another question about, again, one of the conditions for someone's conditional acceptance. So they need to complete a specific course, and the course only takes place in August. Does that mean they would be able to sort of still initiate the visa process before that?
Yes, so a lot of the times Visa will also contact people just with conditional letters, and you don't need unconditional admission to start the visa process. So as long as you have met all the deadlines that have stated, if there's June 15th deadlines, such as sending your proof of unanticipated degree to us, you can start the visa process no problem, even without unconditional admission.
Perfect. Let's see what other questions we have. I think that we covered questions mostly covering the biggest sort of topics. I don't know, Benjamin, if you see anything you think we should still talk about.
Not currently. A lot of the questions are similar, or they're personal questions, but of course, if anyone has questions after this presentation, the admissions team's email is always open to answer these questions as well.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to take a quick look again to see if there's anything we should still talk about. Okay, I see a question about whether it's possible to access webinars that we've done as part of these pre-departure weeks. Yes, it is possible to access these webinars and see their recordings. You will get an email about it next week, which will contain the recordings of all the sessions that have passed this far. And you can expect a similar email on a monthly basis that will contain the recordings for past events. Okay, I think I think we'll leave it here at this point. Thank you, Benjamin, for taking the time to answer these questions live for us. Perfect. And thank you to all our chat moderators as well for answering a lot of your questions in the chat. And thank you, of course, all of you for joining the session. We will, as I mentioned, have a lot more sessions coming up in the coming months. So make sure that you stay tuned for our upcoming sessions as well.